Hello, you're listening to the Robot Wars History Podcast, a podcast where we chart the development of the show and the British robotic combat scene in general by looking at key teams and bots. I'm your host Luke, and with me as always are my co-host Dan.
Hello.
And Nick. Today we'll be looking at Panic Attack post-weight increase from Series 5 to Series 7, and it's a pretty dismal tale to tell.
Yeah, it's a sad thing when such a great robot like this falls so rapidly. So many of the early robots just became so disappointing by the end of the series. Like, I think that the only ones that were still really genuinely good that hadn't been replaced with a new one from pre-Series 4 were Hypnodisc and Razor.
And of course our boy Firestorm.
Yeah, well, Firestorm we got upgraded every single year, and visibly, noticeably different.
The rot didn't set in with Panic Attack straight away though. I mean, Series 5 and Extreme 1, it appeared pretty impressive. It got some pretty significant upgrades. It had improved skirts, new motors, which put it up to 8 miles an hour, which not that impressive, but it pays off when you consider the extra pushing power it gave them. A new, better Shreemech, which was this time more of a panel rather than just 2 bars. And it got improved armour. They added polycarb to the fiberglass shell, which they said was virtually impenetrable, but I mean, Disco Inferno kind of showed that wasn't true.
Yeah, well, the panel had been there since Series 4, it's just it was bigger now. Because honestly, the 2 bars were probably better than the panel it had in Series 4. But it competed in a lot of the events in Extreme 1. It had a Vengeance fight with Exterminator, which it won very easily.
Yeah, that was just slaughter. Just one that just 2 moves and they were out basically.
That was, if I recall correctly, that was the version of Extreme 1 Exterminator that was just the Series 4 one with a new axe. As opposed to the other one, which appeared later in Extreme, which was the Series 5 one.
Yeah.
Because they had 2 different versions of it in Extreme.
And Marlon couldn't drive either.
No.
Oh, I hate this Vengeance. Why did Marlon put a spike on it? Why? I think the wedge probably wasn't ready, the little front scoop they had to put onto this Exterminator, but of all things to try and fend Panic Attack off with, a spike. How couldn't he see how that would hinder them if they got toppled over? Oh my god. And then Kim's like, well, this is incredibly easy. I'll lift up the Shreemech, taunt him towards the pit, and then put him in. Oh my god, it was...
Yeah, I love that. It's just...
We saw some really...
Yeah.
Tragic vengeances in Extreme 1. Like Ming and the Morgue, Plunderbirds, Chromalot, etc. But this one was... Oh, God. Kim wouldn't have lost this.
And Tornado springs to mind.
The Exterminator guys must have known what had happened when they go near that pit. They're fighting Panic Attack, but they just have no other option, just grimly drive towards their fate.
Yeah, I mean, this battle could have been played out 100 times, and Panic Attack would have literally won all 100. Kim didn't have to try one.
Yeah. You kind of see this, you kind of see Panic Attack just completely dominating in a fight again in the Wildcard Warrior fight against Axor. And I mean, Axor's a pretty good bot, I mean, especially considering what came before, but Panic Attack just wipes the floor with them. Axor can't land a hit, they get flipped, and then Panic Attack does that beautiful thing it does where it just lifts a bot on top of it and then just dumps it in the pit.
I mean, there's a lot of very good things to be said about Axor. I mean, it's very aerodynamic, it flies very well, but in this case, it was completely outclassed.
Yeah.
It was again an example of a robot that looked potentially damaging against Panic Attack, but if it's not being controlled well in the slightest, I mean, I know it was more Axor's an incredibly hard machine to control than Gilbert Grimm himself being a bad driver, but it was again another example of Kim's driving, and it's the prime example of Panic Attack Streamech from Series 4 onwards actually being more use in keeping robots on top of them to carry them around as opposed to actually writing it. So...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then... I mean, he did have a rather embarrassing moment in one of the early episodes, though, where they put Panic Attack in to represent the UK in the International Inferno, as they called it, against Manta, Maximal, and Flensburger Power. So one moderately good robot with a weapon that broke all the time, and two utterly shit ones. They started the episode by having it have a battle against Firestorm.
Oh.
And
the All-Stars.
Part of the All-Stars, and
This...
let's just say that rematch didn't go in Panic Attack's favour.
No, but it's an absolute farce of a fight, really. It's really badly edited, for one, and if Panic Attack was counted out while it was placed on the side wall, fair enough, but Refbot counted it out just as it landed on top of Dead Metal's claws. So realistically, if Dead Metal gets out of the way, you'd assume Panic Attack's still mobile, but evidently they just wanted to get rid of Panic Attack and get on to the next battle as soon as possible.
I mean, let's be real. Even if they hadn't counted it out, all you'd need is just Firestorm to get under him and flip him again.
Yeah.
I mean, that fight is never going to go any other way than the way it goes.
Yeah.
No, of course not.
Do you want to know the one time Panic Attack could have beaten the Firestorm team? Series 2 when they had Groundhog.
Yeah.
Even then, Panic Attack would find some way to lose.
I mean, the International Inferno isn't too bad from Panic Attack. It lets Manta just beat the shit out of the Maximilian Flensburger Power. Flensburger, who looks straight from Series 3, not even regular Series 3, a Series 3 side event, and then it just kind of bosses Manta around.
Yeah, well, Manta's weapon wasn't working, which was apparently it had a running thing with unreliability. But
yeah, it was. Manta gave it a good couple of bashes. It was a bit like the Smidsy Heat Final fight from Series 4, where Smidsy had a couple of good bashes.
Yeah, Manta's got all the...
But then Panic Attack finds that
Manta's
gap.
got the strength. Yeah, Manta's got the speed and power, but it's not enough to surmount Panic Attack's control.
No, not at all. And like the Smidsy fight where Kim found that little gap in the wheel well, here he just took up the space at the front where Manta's weapon is and dragged it around a bit. It's a bit of a shame, though, that Matilda had to basically assist Panic Attack in actually confirming the win here, because Panic Attack could have won this either way, but because Kim was just sitting on the pit for about 90 minutes, Matilda was like, oh, finally get this over with then.
She's bored.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, she could have had a bit of a play around with Flensburger Power if she wanted, but you know.
I think maybe they couldn't afford to clean up the arena after that.
A pretty easy qualifier against Dietor and Shere Khan. So Panic Attack in the Second Annihilator, which doesn't quite have the lineup of the first Extreme Annihilator, but
yeah.
It could have if Atomic and Bulldog Breed had been able to take part rather than who was it, Spirit of Nightmare and bloody Fighting Talk.
Technically Hippopotamus, but named Fighting
Hippopotamus.
Hippo Talk, yes.
God.
Hippopotamus wasn't the worst machine in this Annihilator though, because Napalm couldn't even turn. Shunt had to push it in the arena for goodness sake.
I've heard conflicting things about Napalm 2. Literally just the original Napalm painted black.
I can believe it.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, one thing what you see in this Annihilator is kind of a Panic Attack doesn't really have much of an answer to bots that are actually destructive.
Yeah.
No.
In this case, it was just one of those things where Panic Attack was in the midst of all the action, and then Disco Inferno kind of caught it side on and damaged it. But it's a bit frustrating that Panic Attack just had to drop out through damage in between rounds, because really this Annihilator was an incredibly average field of robots. I mean, Hippopotamus and Napalm are obviously really not good in the slightest, but Steel Avenger's never effective. It just runs around mostly, and Spirit of Nightmare,
Spirit of Nightmare is just thoroughly mediocre.
Yeah, and it got to the final. Oh god.
The Steel Avenger at least managed to make a heat final in Series 7.
Yeah.
Where,
I mean,
we know what happened to it there.
Yeah.
This is an Annihilator that could have been like so good, but because basically I think it's Hypnodisc who fucked up both Bulldog and Atomic. We just get a thoroughly average affair.
Not sure why they picked Atomic and Bulldog breed for an Annihilator, knowing that they would have been fighting Hypnodisc in the actual heats for Series 5. It's just like, you're asking for dropouts with that, weren't they, really?
Yeah. I mean, it says a lot that Hypnodisc does more in the second Extreme Annihilator than the one it was actually in.
Yeah. But at least Splinter got its revenge in the second one, and in the first one.
Yeah.
Panic Attack entered Series 5 as the 6th seed, which fair enough.
Yeah, it's respectable.
And their first fight was against Barbarous, and it's pretty dodgy. It's a pretty like nervy fight for Panic Attack in a way, because Barbarous like fucks them up pretty bad. Well, fucks their top up certainly.
Yeah, it stops the forks from working as well. I've never really taken Barbarous all that seriously, in all honesty, because I just didn't remember it that well. Apparently, it was a lot more destructive than I remember it being, though. Because when I got to its heat when I rewatched Series 5 on Nick's channel, it was like, oh shit, this thing's actually not terrible.
Yeah, Panic Attack is really saved by Barbarous's unreliability.
Yeah.
They fuck up the top. They knock out the forks. They didn't break themselves, and Panic Attack would have been like knocked out by that, I reckon.
Panic Attack pushed them into Bash, and Bash disabled one of their wheels. So,
yeah, I think it's one of those where Panic Attack's rather grateful that Barbarous wasn't a horizontal spinner here, where it could really do damage to Panic Attack's sides. It bent it up, but Kim just had to wait until Barbarous kind of ground down to a halt here, as he did. There you go.
Yeah, it was an early powerful spinner, so not exactly good at reliability, because none of them lasted long.
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, asking for a spinner like that to being like, oh, what if it didn't run out? What if it didn't like break down? Is like saying, oh, what if Flippers never ran out of CO2? They just kept on going forever.
Yeah, I mean, especially with Barbarous, when everything is basically inside the center where the weapon itself is anyway. So
yeah, it
just getting all that shock transmitted.
Yeah. It's quite telling that we haven't had a fast, reliable spinner with a quick spin-up time until Series 9 Carbide. Yeah, then obviously they made it to the Heat semi-finals, where they faced probably one of my favourite underperforming robots, Tiberius. Always gets unlucky on the draw in Robot Wars. Always ends up against something just better than it.
Yeah, like Little Fly.
Okay.
Tiberius is basically the only other respectable Crusher to ever appear in Robot Wars other than the obvious.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's completely outmatched against Panic Attack. It just gets on. It manages to get its claw. It manages to get its claw into the fork mechanism, but that doesn't do anything. And then Panic Attack just kind of picks him up and drags him around and picks
again.
him.
Yeah, it was a waiting game again, because Tiberius really gave a decent account of itself. General tug of war in the opening stages. It was having a good push around with Panic Attack, but. Yeah, in the end, again, when Kim can take your wheels off the ground, you are going down the pit. There's not much to say there, and I mean, it's funny because
failing here is a thing that basically every robot that tried to copy Razor got wrong, And that's that Razor's main strength, once it really got good, was its incredibly low wedge and its ability to keep that wedge pointed towards its opponent.
Yeah.
Tiberius 2 blatantly doesn't have much of a wedge and therefore suffers for it.
Yeah. What I find funny here is, speaking about wheels being taken off the floor, when Panic Attack's trying to line up Tiberius to put it in the pit for about a good 30 seconds, and it moves backwards and forwards, JP says, "Oh, Tiberius, push back there." And it's like, no, the wheels are off the floor, Jonathan. What are you on? Tiberius is in the air. Do you not
know about Tiberius's secret third wheel?
Oh.
That just pops out and...
Oh, sorry, I forgot about that.
You just couldn't see it because of the camera angle.
Yeah.
Ah, yes.
Imagine Panic Attack came really close to falling in itself. Can you imagine if that had happened? Like it just drives down the pit in round 2.
I mean, I wouldn't have been against that, because then Tiberius could have actually damaged Cat 3 even more than Panic Attack did. And I say even more because Panic Attack somehow damaged Cat 3, which says a lot about it.
Series 5 Cat 3 is garbage.
Oh,
like,
I mean...
It's okay in Series 6, but Series 5 Cat 3 is really shockingly awful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like Cat 3 in general, but the Series 5 Cat 3, it's just so easy to get hold of or damage, and its axe just flops. It just flops onto things. It's really bad.
They were trying to be dominated too, and they ended up being Killatron.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's such a bad fight. Like, it's especially just the way Panic Attack just gets stuck under him, and god. Like, you can just see Kim just desperately trying to get them off, but they just won't. It gets like lodged in like the actual chassis.
Though this is one thing.
Good God.
The only thing you can really bring up from this fight is you can guarantee that if this was Razor having hold of something, it would be criticised beyond belief for pinning something, but because it's Panic Attack, it's like, oh yeah, that's alright, Kim can hold on to something for as long as he wants.
Yeah. I think Panic Attack does get a little bit of an easy ride for its constant not letting go of anything.
It's because
like, I think because
when Kim gets hold of something, you generally accept that a pitting's coming, and it's just like, oh, well, there's that wonderful piece of driving, and then he'll finish off the opponent, whereas Razor obviously goes like in, out, pushes something against the arena wall. It's more cynical with what it does, whereas Panic Attack, obviously, it's like, well, that's the fight over when it picks something up, so people kind of seem to accept it more. And obviously you've just got to hate Razor in general.
Yeah, my favourite example with Razor is people having a go at it but not letting go of S3 in the Series 5 semis. It's like, dude, it's fucking stuck. They've got the claw all the way open.
Yeah. And S3 just slides upwards.
They need to fucking do something to that claw to make things slide off it easier.
My favourite detail about the Cat 3 fight is the way Panic Attack knocks it, it causes the entire front panel to just peel away from the chassis just with its forks.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, how is this thing in a heat final?
Well, Panic Attack's now officially a better crusher than Ming 3, at least.
Because it's in the heat final because one of the robots in its way was Major Tom.
Major Tom's better than it though, like legitimately.
Yeah, but Major Tom is driven a lot worse.
You know, Cat 3 is a robot that in like any decent world should have been like thrown out the arena by Chaos 2 or mullered by some like great big spinner or something.
Yeah,
shouldn't be in a heat final.
Yeah, give it the Hypnodisc or Fluffy.
So that saw Panic Attack through to another semi-final, and came up against Pussycat, and it got mullered.
Yeah. Well, there's not many ways that Panic Attack could really have handled Pussycat because it's like Stinger but worse.
I mean, yeah, but this is the first time we see from Panic Attack like unreliability because they conk out. Because like initially they're resisting Pussycat pretty well. Like they're taking the hits and pushing them around, but then they just kind of grind to a halt, and Pussycat gets to just tear away at them because that's what the Pussycat team love to do.
Yeah. I think Kim said after the losers melee that they had the issues in against Pussycat in this fight because something was grinding on the aerial. I can't remember exactly what, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something like that. Or yeah, something's grinding on the aerial or something. But yeah, Panic Attack just gets fucked up here. Like the skirts get fucked up, the forks get like torn apart.
Yeah, that's quite quite the thing. Whenever you see impenetrable armor as like a strength for Panic Attack, it's like, really, lads, it's quite a fragile machine.
I think the way it says impenetrable almost makes me think it meant against axes, because I'm sure most axes would have been stopped by hitting the top, but I mean at the sides.
Well,
at the sides and like the forks.
Steel Avenger penetrated its skirt, so yeah.
I think that's what they mean. I swear that's what they mean, because like the top is very like robust, but the skirts and the sides, I mean, yeah, if Pussycat can tear you apart like that, then
yeah, and then it goes into the losers melee against the incredibly unlucky Firestorm 2 and Wheelie Big Cheese, which had to be completely rebuilt after its first round fight.
Yeah, this is just Panic Attack basically doesn't work here until like the last 20 seconds.
Yeah, Wheelie Big Cheese just breaks down very quickly, and then Panic Attack spends the rest of the fight being shoved around by Firestorm.
Yeah, it comes back to life in like the last 20 seconds, gets under Firestorm and like slams him against the wall, and then the bell rings. Like, good one.
Yeah, I think in a way that was the best outcome for Panic Attack here, because if it was active, it probably would have been dispatched of rather cynically earlier in the battle, I would imagine anyway. So
yeah, probably would have gone over the wall if Firestorm actually had to try. But
this is a good, like, this isn't like a bad design for Panic Attack. Like, it's still clearly improved and it's still got that classic Kim control, but I mean, I don't think it's surprising that this is the last time they did anything toward near decently, because you kind of see here that like Panic Attack just being a good control bot is increasingly not enough, because Panic Attack has no counter to destructive weapons.
Yeah.
It's gonna come, it comes up against pretty destructive weapon in Series 6.
Yeah, at this point it's one where Panic Attack's so incredibly far above still the average robot and even decent robots that it can outlast. Like Tiberius gives it a good go, as we know, but even then it's still won it comfortably with its eventual dispatching of it. But the moment it faces a robot that's that little bit more destructive, its fragility shows. So yeah, Kim did as well as he could again with this Panic Attack. It's a very good machine, but it just isn't champion worthy anymore.
They really should have gone the Storm 2 route after this and just made it heavily armoured, kept the forks on the front, but made just this heavily armoured, speedy tank. And they could have done really well with that, but
yeah, I mean, it's still clearly better than you. It's still miles ahead of your average bot, but I mean, bots that were once its peers have now surpassed it.
Yeah.
And CV6.
Oh boy!
Fuck, were they thinking?
Panic Attack Gold or whatever you want to call it.
Kim went with a completely different design, lowered to the ground, and he basically threw away everything that was good about Panic Attack. It's slow, it's hard to control, it hasn't really got much drive power, it's awkward to maneuver, I know he said he says in it was an unfinished bot, but I mean, I don't even see what the finished result could have been.
Yeah.
It's just this big lumbering beast of a bot that's just, oh god, this has to be one of the biggest goddamn downgrades in Robot Wars, if not the biggest downgrade. I can't think of anything worse than this.
Given that it was unfinished, he really should have just brought back the Series 5 one. It would have done better.
Well, I mean, I don't, considering who it ends up against in the Heat final, I don't think it would have done better, but it might not have suffered as undignified a fate as this.
Probably would have.
Oh, Panic Attack 24K. It's one of those, because I've tried to just remain silent for the last minute or so, because I like it as a look, and it's hard because I want to say that it's not utter shite, because it isn't utter shite. It's just in comparison to a normal Panic Attack, because it loses this Shrew Mech on top, which means it can't really beach anything on top of it as well. It's obviously slower. It's even more.
That's a good thing to have in.
But
it got rid of the spikes on top as well, so it's got no way to hold
exactly.
robots on top of it.
Yeah, can I just say, deciding to sacrifice a Shri mech in the British combat robotics scene is like. It's like designing a tank and thinking, let's get rid of the gun on top.
I mean, Panic Attack Shrew Mech was never good anyway, but it helps it control things more in this case, so it was still a key feature.
To be fair, it's also incredibly low to the ground, although Chronic still gets under it in its in the opening melee somehow. Speaking of the opening melee, it came up against Corkscrew, Chronic, and ROCS, Rocks, I don't know how you say
Pebbles,
it.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they just pronounced Rocks. And Chronic 2.
First it gets its whole side ripped off by Corkscrew, and then it gets flipped over by Chronic as Rocks is getting counted out.
Yeah.
So off to a good start already.
Basically the only reason it made it past this round was because Corkscrew showed some fantastic driving control and pitted itself.
Which Philippa then used to mock Corkscrew for the rest of eternity.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair to it, the pit wasn't opening when it was on it. It was just too slow to get off the pit. Then it goes up against A Kill, which
see, this
not the best.
This is the fight where I don't go in defense of Panic Attack Gold. I more say that people want to criticize it no matter what by saying it took a while to defeat A Kill. It's like, when did the other Panic Attacks win fights quickly? Kim would always toy about with things and try and get the perfect grip before pitting them. Even Saw Point he had to play around with. So that's what I mean when I say Panic Attack.
It wasn't even really toying with A Kill. It genuinely seems like it took a while to get A Kill in a position to like pit them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those, though, where I feel that the criticisms of Panic Attack Gold are mostly fine and legitimate, but ones like saying, oh, Panic Attack normally would do much better, or Panic Attack Gold can't do anything right, it's a bit unnecessary, because Panic Attack itself would have still been shown up in Series 6. Especially against the next opponent in the Panic Attack Gold phase.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. If there is one thing you can raise in Panic Attack Gold's defense, Series 5 Panic Attack would have fared no better against the beast that was Terahertz from Series 6.
Oh god, Series 6.
This is just
Series 6 Terahertz was a monster.
This is just.
It took Razor to stop. It's not an easy machine to take down by any sense of the word.
Yeah, this is basically its fight against Terahertz is like a goddamn snuff film. The second Terahertz gets the first hit, and you know it's over because Terahertz just never gives up. It just fucks up. It just completely smashes that top panel and then leaves it for dead in the corner.
Then Matilda rips the top panel completely off the robot.
Now, one thing you can also say in Panic Attack Gold's defense, it is clearly incredibly robust, because even at the end when they're lining up for the drop zone, its top's been ripped off. It's been absolutely pummeled by Terahertz, and it's still driving. It still works.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing. That's the one thing you can't doubt about a Panic Attack machine, is that most of the time it's gonna be able to keep chugging along in some form.
The amount of humiliation it went through at the end of this episode, though, it gets bashed to death by Terahertz. It gets its top ripped off by Matilda. Gets thrown across the arena by the floor flipper, and then gets a washing machine dropped on it.
I know. I mean, when it's getting counted out, JP is all like, you can really see the respect and reverence Panic Attack is held in. It's like, no, they're just waiting for it to count. They're just waiting for Refbot to finish, and then they're going to completely humiliate it. They dropped a washing machine on it. Come on. Is that any way to treat a former? Is that any way to treat a champion?
I fucking love the drop zone though. Like it is my favourite of the arena hazards. There's just something. So, there's something so amazingly hilarious about just dropping appliances and bowling balls and defeated robots onto defeated robots.
I bet Comedy Central must have wished they could have included that in BattleBots because it's comedy gold.
Yeah.
No, we get to discuss my favourite drop zone moment in a bit.
Oh god.
But yeah, I mean, Panic Attack Gold, man, it's just.
It's
just
good.
a mess.
It's not good.
It's genuinely baffling.
It was so crap that they didn't bother rebuilding it for Extreme 2. They just got the Series 5 version back.
I mean, they shouldn't have entered it anyway. It shouldn't have ever been built.
No.
And I mean, do we even really want to discuss Extreme 2?
I think it has to be recorded for posterity's sake.
Alright. Yeah, it entered into the Commonwealth Carnage, and
well,
I think it went out. Yeah, it went out against Firestorm.
Wow! What a shock! I mean, it's surviving its first round melee isn't even that impressive because I mean, Crush Nation was there, and Crush Nation's decent, but its other opponents were Cerberus and Terra Turtle.
Yes, here we go. Another defense of Panic Attack Gold. This version of Panic Attack couldn't pit Terra Turtle. Terra Turtle took it to a judge's decision.
God.
What a lineup, honestly. Terra Turtle consistently awful, but showed up, even came back for Series 8, and Cerberus, a bot which hasn't been seen, I think, since Series 4.
Extreme, but yeah, pretty much.
Oh, but yeah, Series 7, Panic Attack returns again, and it's basically the Series 5 version, but yeah, it's a Series 5 version, but it's got a back skirt and an anti-hammer top, because,
God.
like I said before, in the British robotic combat scene, don't get rid of your Shremek. I mean, there's literally two good axes in the UK at this point, Terahertz and Dominator 2, neither of which end up showing up.
Yeah.
And but I guess they were so traumatized by Series 6, they just had to put it on there. And also notably, Kim Davies is gone.
Yes, he joined the crew of the show, and therefore wasn't allowed to be a competitor anymore. And it was back in the hands of Kevin Pritchard.
Oh, lovely! What a man.
We're going to give Panic Attack to the man that forgot to charge his batteries. That was the last time he'd been seen in Robot Wars.
Well, I mean, to be fair, in its melee, we can say something. It beats a spinner, albeit Spin Doctor.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even lift it; it just bumps it over. Oh god! What? How did Spin Doctor qualify for Series 6, Extreme 2, and Series 7? Oh my god!
Oh god! You could tell that a lot of the good robots, or the great robots, weren't entering anymore by Series 7.
Just think about this for a second. Spin Doctor qualified for Series 6, but Typhoon 2 didn't. I know they weren't yet Series 7 levels, but come on.
Oh, God. But Spin Doctor never looked like it would work. It was basically a sit and spin. It never once worked as a full-body spinner. It's baffling.
Yeah.
Panic Attack teams up with Megamorg, a bit of a Welsh solidarity, and Pit's Edgehog, which is
there you go.
Panic Attack's last
There
KO.
you go. That's where the anti-axe /hammer top comes in. Holding off Edgehog.
Oh, yeah, God. very useful against fucking Edgehog.
Am I crazy? Am I misremembering this, or did Edgehog fail to pierce Megamorg?
Yeah, I think it just bounced off the top of it. Yeah, I think you're right.
How do you fail to damage Megamorg?
It's probably got an anti-hammer top, doesn't it?
Oh god. And then fucking tough as nails.
Yeah.
I do not like this robot. I do not like this robot at all. I mean, people criticise Danton Kia for going for quick out of the arenas, and Eruption does it as well. But at least those look flashy. Tough as Nails just grabs things and dumps them in the pit, and it's so fucking dull.
To be fair, this Tough as Nails is a very dodgy robot for Panic Attack to fight, because like there's not much to grab hold of, and Tough as Nails is it's basically just a massive weapon, just a big claw, which is really...
Yes.
I don't see much that Panic Attack could have done, even if like Kim Davies, peace be upon him, had fought.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing when I consider Series 6 Panic Attack Gold and Series 7 Panic Attack, that even with the normal Panic Attack in Series 6 and even with Kim Davis in Series 7, not much would have changed at all. It was just against just against better machines, or machines it couldn't get a hold of, really.
Fellas, let's consider this, right? Tough as Nails against Panic Attack Gold. Panic Attack Gold is incredibly low down, so Tough as Nails might not be able to get a proper grip on them. Panic Attack pushes them about. Oh my god. This is the series they should have entered it.
Is that legitimately a thing where you can be like, hey, Kim should have brought Panic Attack Gold into Series 7.
I don't know if Panic Attack Gold in the hands of Kevin Pritchard would have pulled it off mind, but...
Yeah, it would probably require Kim behind it.
Yeah, if Kevin was there with Panic Attack Gold, he'd forget to bring the entire top panel that Matilda ripped off there for Series 7. It'd just be there topless.
Yeah.
Actually, I've just had another theory, like, maybe the reason Kim Davies and George Francis both joined the, technical crew is because they were just so traumatized by seeing what happened to their robots in their last fight.
Chaos 2, the robot that got its wheel bumped in by 13 Black. Devastating damage, lads.
It's Robot Wars theory time up in here. But no, after going out to Toughest... Oh, one more thing I want to say about Tough as Nails. They wreck their forks by knocking into them.
Yeah.
And JP doesn't notice that for a good minute.
Yeah, he's like, oh, is a Panic Attack? No, the best thing is he's like, oh, I think the forks are back in place. Like, they were hanging off by a wire. They're not getting put back in place.
Panic Attack's new feature for Series 7: angled forks. Love it.
Yeah, Panic Attack's forks can mend itself like the fucking Terminator from the second movie. Incredible what they're doing nowadays.
Fantastic stuff.
And
that was the end of Panic Attack's main series run, but it was in All Stars. And how fitting is it that in its second to last fight, how does Panic Attack go out? Fighting the house robots.
Yes.
In the most fighting the house robots fight you can have. Although Panic Attack itself doesn't do anything really in this fight, bar awkwardly lift up Cassius Chrome a bit.
Yeah. I think this is the one time that Panic Attack technically defeats Firestorm, because Firestorm drives itself into the pit. This is a fight where undeniably the better two robots lost. Firestorm 5 and Bigger Brother both go out, while Panic Attack and Cat 3 go through.
And somehow, Danton Kia still doesn't win the All-Stars. Unbelievable.
No, but what I mentioned earlier about this having my favourite drop zone moment is when you just see halfway through the I don't even know what it is, but I think it's a washing machine again, to be honest. But it just drops into an empty arena, there's nothing below.
You can kind of tell at this point that the Roboteers are obviously just trying to start house robot rebellions with everything, and all of the people who are running the arena are just getting really annoyed with their house robots getting picked on. So they're like, right, we're going to have to fight back with all the arena hazards at the same time.
I'm surprised they didn't just have the floor flipper fiving constantly.
Oh god.
Yeah, and the final Panic Attack's final ever fight is against Dan Tom Kier, and Dan Tom Kier flips it and then throws it out.
Yeah, Dan Tom Kier does what Dan Tom Kier always does.
What a dignified end to a former champion. Well, like we mentioned Chaos 2 earlier, not the worst end for a champion.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of dignified ends for former champions, those rarely ever happen. Even Tornado's exit in Series 7 wasn't the cleanest because they blatantly tried to lift the fucking pit up after it went down.
Yeah, but at least Tornado basically lost to the improve basically the evolution of Tornado.
Yeah, it lost to a better version of itself.
Yeah, I mean,
Razor died locked in Mortal Kombat with Team Confusion again.
I guess the only dignified end really was Roadblocks, who just kind of lost to a better bot.
Yeah.
And then quit while it was ahead.
This was definitely the most emphatic. Hypnodisc's last ever fight. At least you can say in a way it's unlucky because it got balanced up against the wall before being thrown out. But Panic Attack just gets thrown over here and it goes out.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least in Hypnodisc's last fights, it basically got double teamed.
Yeah, like people still saw it as a threat, and that's why Dominator and Spawn again had to hunt it down consistently. But Panic Attack was just as easy as anything here.
Yeah, I mean, by Series 7, Panic Attack was done. It was an outdated design. It didn't even have the original driver. I think what you see in the later series is well, like I said earlier, Panic Attack as a design just isn't effective anymore.
Yeah, it's a shame because it's definitely one of the greats.
Yeah, that's what. Well, I mean, if you look at the great picture, Panic Attack is below the top. It's probably in terms of importance, Panic Attack is just below the big three of Razor, Chaos 2, and Hypnodisc. It's one of the all-time greats.
I mean, when you'd be waiting for a Robot Wars series to come on and you were waiting for Heat, people would sometimes find Chaos 2 boring, some people wouldn't like Razor, some people would find Hypnodisc a bit overkill, but everybody liked watching Panic Attack in a Heat. It was just the safe Heat where you could have a good watch of Robot Wars, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd get a fight with incredible with great driving and great control, but not one that just ends with the other robot getting thrown out or just knocked out instantly.
Yeah, and it's great that loads of people who actually watched the show appreciated what Panic Attack was about, because it's easy in Robot Combat to just be well, if it's not a destructive or effective weapon visually, then it's a rubbish robot. But people really understood what Panic Attack was all about, and that was great to see it rated as one of the most important robots on the show because of the way it battles.
Yeah, I mean, the way it battles, think about this. Imagine that design in anyone else's hands from Series 4 onwards.
Yeah.
It would get nowhere, but Panic Attack was just an example of how important good driving was, because good driving turned a bot that would otherwise probably go out in the Heat semi-finals or something, and made it a one-time champion and a three-time semi-finalist.
Yeah.
And that got outdated, and that was outdated later on. I mean, how many other bots from Series 2 weren't outdated later on? How many bots from Series 2 were having any kind of success? Even ones that constantly got upgraded, well, okay, I was going to say Behemoth, but maybe that's a bad example, because Behemoth was just always unlucky. But, I mean, that Panic Attack was capable for as long as it was. Just goes to show,
and it's
just shows the value of Kim's driving.
Yeah, and it was really important to have that link to the first couple of series always there in some form, because we lost the Roadblock guys in Series 3, which was about the right time maybe for them, but with Panic Attack it was always great because we lost Cassius, Killatron, obviously, less said the better. And obviously the likes of Mortis faded away as well. But to have Panic Attack consistently there, just as like a fan favourite throughout the show, was always just great to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess, plus I guess you can chalk up some of its later air defeats just to like poor choices and bad luck.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, as I kind of said earlier, I think it was one of those where Panic Attack itself, as the show got more destructive, it was always going to struggle more and more, even if they, say, had the best Panic Attack available to them with the best driving possible in Series 6 and 7. It was just a step too far, but yeah, it at least always tried to do what it always tried to be about, trying to control fights, trying to just be generally a nice team to always watch. So you never really thought when it lost that Kim himself took it personally at all. He as he said, he just wanted to be there to try and entertain people. So
yeah.
Kim has to be the most humble man.
I love him.
Kim has to be one of the most humble men in Robot Combat. Like, he just, every other fight, he just seems so pleasantly surprised that he made it. Even when he was clearly the better, even when he had clearly the better bottom, was the better driver.
Yeah, and to add to that, he must have the patience of a saint, because the amount of times Craig Charles would be like, every single post-match interview, he wouldn't ask him anything but, "Oh, I loved your driving, Kim." And it's like, well, what do I respond with to that, Craig? He's like, "Oh, I loved your driving." It's like, yeah, okay.
At least once in every, like, episode Kim appeared in, Craig was like, "Do you reckon you'll take the championship this year? Do you reckon?"
Craig's interviewing, not the most varied, shall we say.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Yeah. Good old Craig interviews. I have to love him roasting the Razor team in the later in Series 5, because it's just like everyone's expecting a breakdown at that point.
Oh, love it.
So yeah, any of you's got anything else to say?
Not really, no. I mean, we've kind of talked all we can about Panic Attack.
Yeah, Panic Attack is very much a machine that you can properly analyse during the sections you're on about it. It's a very... because of the way it expresses the way it's designed in its fights, because you can tell what it's about and it does that in fights, it's easy to like expand upon that in the sections we were talking about it itself. So yeah, there's not really much to add about it or Kim. It's just a really likeable robot, a fan favourite, great that people understood what it was about, and it was one of the robots that kind of made Robot Wars and separate it from the BattleBots type thing, where there were so many, like, on BattleBots obviously you'd get a lot of contestants who were hyper serious about winning the whole thing and were always aggressive and just competitive people, but Kim was just this guy who brought his machine along. He knew it was capable, but knew it was one where he himself wanted to just have fun and express himself. And
I know you do get like the hyper serious BattleBots competitors, but you also get things like the work of Mark Satrakian and also things like Buddy Lee Don't Play in the Street. So, absolutely. That's just going to be our running thing, isn't it? Every robot that's made of plastic is actually a spinner killer.
Barbarous is actually a spinner killer because it constantly kills itself.
it killed one spinner, that being itself.
Oh dear.
I think that's also down just to BattleBots being American and Robot Wars being British.
I think that as well, and the way that that's the thing. Kim was very much the typical British TV show type person, really, where he was very he was like when you'd bump into someone on the street and you'd say sorry about 4 times just because you got in their way. Kim is that person. He is so British. But it's perfect.
I mean, we did get a few of the hyper competitive ones over here.
Oh yes. But we also got Peter Gibson. Sorry.
Pram Wheels Master Race.
The God.
Oh, my king.
Who's in the firing line next week then?
Is it King B?
Cassius.
Or...
No, next week we'll be covering Rex Garrett,
Oh.
which is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, back to nothing but series 1 to 3 episodes to research there, and not a whole lot of series 3 either.
Oh.
Oh god, we'll cover that.
Yeah.
Could have been series 4. Damn you, Panda Team.
That's the only time their robot's weapon did anything.
Oh.
Well, it's like Mr. Psycho said. Like, what works on people doesn't always work on robots. And we just got dark.
So until next week. See ya.
Yeah. Goodbye.